Hello, welcome back. This is NetLab 7, creating and managing vCenter server inventory, and I'm Richard Golson. I'm going to walk you through task 4, where we will create a folder for our ESXi host. So folders are a very important tool in a data center. If you think about all the objects you could have. Now, admittedly, our data center is very small, so a folder is not going to be all that useful. But you can imagine in a much larger environment with tens or hundreds of ESXi servers and then the associated virtual machines and the servers providing certain functionality. Maybe there's a configuration on the different servers. They're not all going to have the same resources. They may be used for special purposes. I would want to be able to organize those so that it's easy for me to then access them. I know what's where. And so that's what the folders are going to do for us. It's going to provide some kind of logical environment. And so let's take a look at this. So you can see right now I've got this ESXi host, but what I want to do is back up to the data center, because the data center in itself is like a logical container. And so now what I'll do is I'll create another subcontainer, a folder. So I'll right click on this and select new folder. And you'll notice the option here is for new host and cluster. Folders are identified for different purposes. So we have host and cluster, network, storage, folder, and VM and template. We're going to look at the VM and template later. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and click on the new host and cluster folder. And then I want to give it a name. And so in this case, I'll go ahead and use the one that's given with lab. And one of the things that's also important when you're doing something like this, although it's not as critical here, naming conventions are very important, case sensitivity. So always be aware that if you have specs that call out using certain terms, certain names, you want to make sure you follow those, because those, when we start doing things programmatically and set up automation, especially if you start using the command line with the vSphere environment, it's really important that we're consistent in our naming and we follow the specs. So I'll go ahead and hit the OK there. And I should see this labs servers folder. Now my next step here is to place that new server in there. So we're going to see that it's pretty easy to do. What I'm going to do is click and drag, and you'll see that I get a green plus sign. So if I try to place it somewhere else, I can get, see how I'm placing it in between? I get the red X. But also notice I could drag this server into a different data center. Remember, these are logical containers. What I want to do though is I want to place it in this folder. I'll let it go. You'll see that it pops down, and now it's nested in there. It actually will be hidden. So if I close this all up, you'll see that there's the folder, and then there's my server. So I have to make sure that I expand both this node and this node so I can see the server. If I take a look at the folder here, note that we get a summary. It shows me the resources, and these resources are consistent with the server here. It also shows me that I can monitor, configure, set permissions, work with hosts and clusters, run updates, and these will be specifically for the servers that are contained within that folder. So it's really a really handy way of managing multiple servers simultaneously. Okay, that's it for taking a look at setting up the folder for the servers, and the next task will be working with virtual machines. I'll see you then.